Never run out of battery again with the INIU portable charger, the slimmest 10,000 milliamp hour power bank that keeps your devices charged on the go. Stay powered up wherever you go. Click the link in the video description to shop now on Amazon.
How murderous Putin is buying time to take Ukraine's only bargaining chip off the table before he'll ever consider peace. Murderous Vladimir Putin is buying time to take Ukraine's bargaining chips off the table before he'll even consider peace, experts believe. Geopolitical analysts have told The Sun that the Russian tyrant is still plotting towards his ultimate goal of conquest, despite saying he wanted an end to fighting. Putin on Thursday said he had serious questions about Washington's plan for a 30-day ceasefire in Ukraine, but added that Moscow was ready to discuss it with U.S. President Donald Trump. The Russian leader said, "The idea itself is correct, and we certainly support it." But he added that, "There are issues that we need to discuss, and I think that we need to discuss it with our American colleagues and partners." Putin wants to remove the root causes of the crisis before any fighting stops, a hint that he wanted long-desired concessions from the talks. But experts believe Vlad may just be stalling for time and using the talks in Jeddah, and any potential discussions between the White House and Kremlin directly, for different purposes. Ex-military intelligence officer Philip Ingram said Putin was partly delaying because he wanted to expel Ukraine from Kursk and remove one of Kyiv's bargaining chips. Ingram said, he doesn't want a ceasefire which freezes front lines where Ukraine still occupies part of Russia. Ingram also claimed Putin was diplomatically caught, where he can't really maneuver, as his objectives haven't changed and so doesn't really want peace. But he needs to look like it. He's done that by saying, "Yes, I accept a ceasefire. However, these are my conditions." That's typical Vladimir Putin. Ultimately, Putin wants to achieve his objectives outright, or be able to salami slice further parts of Ukraine at some stage in the future. Mykola Bieliskov, research fellow at the National Institute for Strategic Studies in Kyiv, said Moscow's primary goal with ceasefire talks was to sow more distrust between the U.S. and Ukraine. He said Putin was following classic Russian tactics that sow confusion and create openings to split Ukraine and its allies. Putin's conditions for a ceasefire have presented unrealistic demands for Ukraine. But Trump may try and force Zelensky to accept some of these unacceptable concessions on security and sovereignty to end the war. But that would present Zelensky as a spoiler for peace in American eyes and sow discord in Ukraine against the U.S. So it's not only about dragging feet, it's about shouldering the responsibility on others, blaming others and putting them and other players against each other, and basically presenting them as the spoilers of peace. If Washington were to become fed up with Kyiv, it may then pause further weapons shipments and intelligence support as Trump did following the Oval Office row. Eventually, Putin's meat grinder would grind Ukraine down as it runs out of weapons and manpower. Bieliskov said, "The Russian response, it was a kind of vintage in terms of creating confusion and trying to create an opening for the discord between us and Ukraine." He said if Putin believes Trump is willing to walk away from Ukraine, he won't compromise on his most ambitious goals. Bieliskov said, "Even a weakened Ukraine, even a blooded Ukraine, which is still soaring, which is still independent, it's a major humiliation for him. He's a strong man, he's an autocrat. An independent Ukraine, it's his biggest failure, his biggest trauma." Bieliskov also said that it was important for Russia to participate in talks as a way of balancing against China. He said that as Moscow wanted some relationship with Washington, so that it had room to maneuver with against Beijing when it needed to. John Kennedy, a research leader for RAND, said Putin will be participating in talks, looking for opportunities that work in his favor. In particular, the ceasefire talks give the Kremlin an opportunity to talk directly with the White House. After 3 years of being an outcast in the international system, Putin could soon be talking directly with its most powerful actor. Kennedy said, "Putin will be patient and wait for opportunities, but he's not going to jump at the first set of proposals." By Georgie English, Foreign News Reporter. Vladimir Putin's secret plans for the fate of Ukraine have been uncovered with the tyrant hoping to decimate Ukraine until 2026, reports say. The Russian despot has a maniacal plot to completely dismantle Ukraine's government while also weakening the US and stopping any serious Western influence, classified Kremlin documents suggest. The world is waiting with bated breath to see how Putin will respond to the US proposed 30-day ceasefire. Donald Trump has already praised the plan, which Ukraine has accepted, with US officials now saying the ball is in Russia's court to agree. But leaked papers, uncovered by the Washington Post, claim to show that Putin has no intention of saying yes to any peace deal. The documents, first written up in February by an influential think tank with ties to Russia's Federal Security Service, FSB, shows how Moscow has a list of brutal demands it wants met before ending the war. What does the Kremlin want? In the meantime, the war will likely continue, and Putin will be more able to cast himself as a responsible broker waiting for fair terms. Kennedy said peace would suit Putin and stop the massive bloodshed his army has faced. He said, but there was little commitment to the idea of compromise in his words yesterday. In general, history shows that compromise with Putin is really an invitation to him to come back for more later. Putin sent Trump a number of secret signals after he met with U.S. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff yesterday. Vlad sent him back to Washington with a special message, the Kremlin has claimed. At Thursday afternoon's press conference, Putin warned Ukrainians still in Kursk, surrender or die. On Thursday morning, Moscow claimed it had recaptured the key town of Sudzha off the Ukrainians in the Kursk region. The Russians have released photos of the war-torn urban wasteland as it now stands.